You didn't think you'd escaped the Dark Castle, did you? This video is one of a trio that provides quick reviews of the Escape the Dark Castle adventure packs and that supplement our main review of the game. We hope that together these videos form a useful buyer's guide for Escape the Dark Castle, whether you are starting or expanding your experience of the game. Unless otherwise stated, any views I expressed in the main review remain relevant with the expansions in play. Links to the other videos in the series will be included in the video description as they are published. Thanks for watching. Cult of the Death Knight is numerically the first adventure pack for Escape the Dark Castle, but it is important to note that you can add each to your games individually without any of the others, meaning you do not have to start with Adventure Pack 1 unless you want to do so. Although a core box is required to use the adventure packs, you can play through the 15 chapter cards and boss card included as a separate all-new playthrough, or alternatively, and this is certainly my preference, shuffle them into the chapter cards from the core game to give yourself a wider range of chapters when you assemble your random chapter deck. Given that one of my criticisms of the core set was the number of chapter cards included made it statistically likely that you'd encounter the same chapters repeatedly over multiple playthroughs, it will be no surprise that I feel these additional chapters add much needed replayability to the core game and are worth the price of entry alone. By the time you have bought all 3 adventure packs, should you choose to do so, you will have doubled the chapters in the original game. However, as all the adventure packs include the same number of additional chapters, it is other components that differentiate them from each other. This adventure pack adds 3 new characters to the game along with their custom dice in the form of the Mason, the Bishop and the Hunter. These hyper-specialists lose all but 1 result on their dice for 2 of the possible traits, increasing the probability that they will roll 1 specific result. However, without getting into statistical probability too deeply, there is still a 1 in 3 chance that you will roll a now very poor lesser trait, and these characters are obviously only highly useful when their particular trait comes up, and when they are healed enough to safely enter combat. This makes these new characters something of a glass cannon. Additional character choice is welcome, but I find myself often passing them over for more rounded options. By far the most impactful change provided by this adventure pack is the addition of the curse mechanic. 5 curse cards are added to the item deck from the core game. In so doing, curses alter the item deck from a mechanic that is always positive, adding new weapons and precious health relief to your party, to a mechanic that possesses genuine risk. You likewise have to choose who will draw each item card in the same manner as you select someone to turn the chapter card. This is because if you draw a curse, the player that drew the card is most likely to be affected. It is also worth noting that the strict letter of the rules doesn't appear to allow you to choose not to draw items, perhaps if you are already fully laden. In most circumstances, the card instruction says draw an item card, not you may draw an item card. You will still get a benefit from the item deck more likely than not, but you might draw a curse and make your already precarious situation worse. The effects of the curses vary, but the most significant is the March for Death curse, which converts the player into a traitor that will potentially act against the players once their health is below half its starting value. At this point, they start to roll the cult die in combat, and if a black result is revealed, then it is added to the current enemy's dice pool, and the Marked for Death player will take no further part in the fight. They will continue to act against the other prisoners until their health is restored to above half its starting value, a situation by no means guaranteed as they are now unable to rest. The player marked for death is also more vulnerable to cultists, these being any of the 5 chapter cards that are marked with a cult symbol. When the character marked for death takes damage from these enemies, they lose an additional health point, accelerating them towards joining the cult themselves and making them a liability within the group. The presence of this curse has the potential to completely change the experience of the game for one of your characters, but the randomness of its appearance in-game and your inability to counteract it means that players have little control over how this will affect their adventure. The first time we played this adventure pack, Marked for Death was drawn on the very first turn and led to a brief and unsatisfyingly inept descent towards failure. This has the potential to leave a sour taste, especially for new players, leading me to feel like this is an expansion better placed as an addition for an established group of prisoners, rather than something to incorporate when you have some newbies around the gaming table. Additionally, without spoiling the surprise, the Death Knight feels more luck-dependent as a boss than any of those in the core game, making it a relatively frustrating boss to come up against. With most of the boss cards, you feel like you have a chance of winning even with the last roll of the dice, but fights against the Death Knight often end with the players in a temporary state of powerlessness that is certainly thematic, but not always the most fun end to an escape. More chapter cards are always welcome, and there's nothing fundamentally wrong with this first adventure pack, but if I'm honest, it's probably my least favourite of the three on offer. This is perhaps because it feels like every component it contains is designed to make the already challenging feat of escaping the Dark Castle even more difficult. There is almost no upside to adding these components into your game from a survivability perspective. I know for some of you this will be exactly what you're looking for, something to make the game even more unforgiving while introducing some additional flavour to your games, and for such players this will be an essential purchase. For my part, I would have preferred a little more reward to offset the additional risk of becoming cursed. I hope this short video gives you an idea what to expect from this expansion and helps you to decide whether it is worth your valuable hobby money. We'll return to the castle soon to look at the next adventure pack. If that video has already been published, you'll find the link in the description. If not, consider subscribing to make sure you don't miss it and all the other delectable content we provide on the channel. While you're at it, consider checking out our main review if you haven't already, and The Cook's Tale, our atmospheric narrative playthrough of the core game, which we hope conveys the feel of a really good game of Escape the Dark Castle. Themeborn seemed to like it, so maybe you will too. Good luck on your adventures, fellow prisoners, and remember to always work hard, play better, and take care out there.